Hey everybody, I'm sorry I can't be there tonight, but I'm really glad to celebrate with you remotely. I'm on vacation in Jefferson, Maine right now, which so far has been a really lovely trip. And even better than just being in Maine is the fact that I'm here taking a woodworking class, which I've wanted to do for about 6 years now. And, it's really thanks to like the freedom and financial security that I have having graduated from Turing that I'm able to take this trip and I'm able to take this class. And so I'm just feeling incredibly grateful to all of the staff and instructors and people that make Turing the place it is. So before I move on to kind of celebrate 1701, I do just want to say thank you to all of you for the privileges that I'm enjoying now. So thank you. Okay, now back to 1701. So the best thing that I came up with to celebrate 1701 was a top 10 list. So here goes the top 10 things that I appreciate about 1701. So let's see. Number 10, laughing at my jokes. This is kind of a simple but important one, I'd say. I do kind of pay attention to whether or not students laugh at my jokes, and I actually keep track of that on a spreadsheet on my laptop while I'm lecturing, and had pretty good response from 1701. And so, I think this one is probably more about flattery than sense of humor, but they did really make me feel appreciated, and I appreciate that. Number 9, curds. So 1701 has this thing where they really enjoy curds and will have kind of social activities that are kind of cater to that passion. I never really understood it, and I'd say in general I'm kind of neutral towards curds, but I think what I really appreciate about this one is that they're so passionate and excited about this thing, and even though other people might be like, think it's, stupid or don't have any respect for it, that never seemed to kind of discourage 1701 from really just, owning it and enjoying it. So I really respect that. Number 8, flowers. So 1701 gave me a flower as a gift once, and that was one hardy little flower. The first thing that it endured was the hailstorm that we had in May, which pretty much just like shredded it and left it in a pretty pitiful state. But I kind of pruned it. It came back from that, and then I left it on a 3-week trip. And when I came back, it was so dried out that it from like the Denver Sun or whatever, that it was pretty big, but it was so dried out, it was so light, it must have weighed about what like a bag of popcorn of the same weight would have weighed. And I was about to toss it when I noticed that there was one stalk that was still green, and so I kind of cleaned it up again, and the thing came back. I mean, it's just incredible. Number 7. So I'd like everyone to take a moment and just say silently to themselves how they would pronounce this word. So 1701 has at least one student that I'm aware of that I've heard pronounce that word, ere, and it ties back to 1701 in that, I see them having created what I'd say is kind of like an inclusive space, where people feel comfortable pronouncing words like array incorrectly, and I think it's great that they've done that. Number 6, feedback. this is kind of a more serious note, but through many different venues, whether it's surveys or one-on-one conversations, I've always found 1701 to be a source of high quality, engaged, meaningful feedback that made me better at my job and made the team that I worked with do ours better too. So just really appreciated that. It meant a lot to all of us. Number 5, worst jobs. This was one of several particularly kind of choice conversations we all had together where we went through like the worst job. Everyone shared the worst job they ever had. Quite a few, more than I expected, involved cleaning up human waste of some kind. So that was pretty interesting. And the kicker for sure was someone who worked in either like New Zealand or Australia, at one of those places where people can rent. They're like these huge bouncy balls that you get in, and you're kind of suspended from the walls by bungee cords, and then you're basically like thrown down a mountain. And surprisingly, or not, I would argue, someone got sick in one. I'm not sure if it was vomit or some other kind of waste. But this student's job was to like clean up the interior, and I imagine it just like, sprayed everywhere. So that was pretty gross. That was a story I will not forget anytime soon. Number 4, portraits. So I've received not one but 2 portraits from 1701 of myself. And this is really where I'm disappointed that I'm not at home to do this video, because I would have showed you the shrine to myself that I have, where I've been able to add these portraits. Really nice to have that touch. So thank you. Number 3, Joseph Glass's lightning talk. So for those of you who don't know Joseph, he's kind of a, I would say, kind, modest, good-natured, pretty awesome guy. And he did a lightning talk on CSS selectors, and it was really just one slide in particular that had a kind of subtle joke in it, and the combination between his demeanor, his like dry sense of humor, the nonchalantness with which he presented this, and then the content of the slide, that made it like the funniest thing I have ever seen in my life. And so that's something I definitely appreciate. Number 2, your weird selves. That kind of goes, or I think like needs little explanation, but I will just add that going through the list of all you graduating today, I was really just, I guess, humbled by the fact that, I feel, a deep amount of respect and fondness for each and every one of you. And so that's something I appreciate. And number 1, drum roll. That's a drum roll. That's a main patio porch drum roll. The cat hair watch. So there was at some point, let's say it was on a break from when we should have been discussing more relevant technical topics, we explored this thing. Apparently there's this company that you can send samples of your cat's hair to, and they will kind of like compress it and mat it down, and then they mount it on this leather band, like a leather band for your watch, so that you can have a memento of your cat with you wherever you go. The whole thing is like pretty disgusting, but I would say that I really enjoyed the process of learning that this thing actually exists in the world, in the company of 1701. So those are all things that I appreciate. That's the end of my 10 things about 1701 that I appreciate. And so to kind of wrap things up, a few things I want to add. One is, I know you've got this job search ahead of you. Keep your heads up. From what I saw, y'all are capable of learning, you play well with others, and you're really good at endearing yourself to people in positions of authority, which I think will serve you pretty well during your interview process. congratulations on getting through Turing, and not only getting through, but doing so with a good deal of grace and keeping your sense of humor. I think in a lot of ways you stood up as leaders in our community and helped us create the culture here that we need for students to be successful. And I also think it's worth acknowledging that our world is kind of in need right now of the kind of steady, engaged, genuine citizens y'all proved yourself to be. So I am so excited that you're about to be unleashed on the world again with some new skills. And I can't wait to see what comes of that. It was really an honor to get to know you all a little bit better, and best of luck. Take care.